We have a system that more resembles a dinosaur in too many ways, which is a small brain, a huge animal, an inefficient system, and one that doesn't recognize it's received a death blow on one end of the body because the brain is not equipped for it. And that's what I see in where we are now. I don't believe in just the two-party system. I want a multi-party system, not too many like in Israel where 60,000 people can literally change the makeup of your country.
Right, you can have an absurdly tiny party.
You can have an absurd amount.
Yeah.
But over the years, from Ron Paul, who I think failed the libertarians massively because he didn't build an infrastructure, I've said to libertarians, build your state parties, find a few key states, build an infrastructure, because in politics you need an infrastructure, and grow your party so that you can have a debate. Mm-hmm. You can have a real third party, a viable third party.
Right, but they don't do that work. They just go for the presidency every 4 years, and then it's just like...
You know, if you go for the marketing and you don't build a good product, you know what you have? Failure.
Yeah, and it's worse than failure in a way because it's then you look more ridiculous each time.
Yeah, I mean, when you get the outliers that come out and they're so ridiculous and people go, well, why would I want to be a part of that crazy?
But do you, as a Republican, do you fear that, okay, so let's say they're libertarians, a lot of libertarians watch this show, obviously, most of my political leanings are libertarian. Wouldn't you fear that what that does then is, all right, now we get a libertarian party that's at 10%, it just took 8% of that from the Republicans, congratulations, we now have socialist comrade Elizabeth Warren as president.
I don't, and I'll tell you why. One, like you, I believe in the Constitution and the system, and when I was a kid, my father said, you know, and I don't remember the exact words, but basically real strength, real conviction is that when something doesn't benefit you, is it the right thing? You know, in other words, the right thing. So the Constitution is my guide. And the fact that we can have this debate and the ability to correct in this country, we have a cultural DNA in the Declaration of Independence. We have a legal DNA in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And we have the Federalist Papers and other things. But what it frames is this idea that the country can self-correct. The Supreme Court can make a decision, the other branches can get involved with their respective roles, and we can correct things. We've fixed things in this country, and it's difficult, and it should be. We don't want easy flip-flops. So I don't fear a libertarian party that's strong. I want it because I think it can help the other parties self-correct. You know, more strength, more voices, not less, more strength to me is better. A strong nation is less challenged by outsiders. Would I want a weak nation? Well, I want a stronger nation. And we can weather the challenges.
Yeah.
As for the socialists, we do have an issue here in this country. And I think there is a level of ignorance, willful ignorance, and ideology combined that's dangerous. And the thing is, when it magnifies enough and it gets a loud voice and it's used and abused by many out there who actually don't even know the difference, that's a danger. Because what it does is it robs people of the part of their life, especially when you're younger, when you should be building towards your future. And once you've lost a chunk of that, how do you get it back? That's a danger.
Yeah, so what do we do to change the factory settings of how people are brought up? It's a phrase that my friend Bridget Fedesi came up with related to this, who I think it's really perfect. That basically the factory settings, if you grow up in America, are all sort of lefty or democratic factory settings. You know, we should take from some and give to the other. The government is somehow inherently good. Mm-hmm. All of these, the policies of the Democrats are just like the thing that you're just sort of basically taught. And then you go from there, where in my view, the factory settings we should all get would actually be very libertarian. It would be all about freedom and individual rights and individual liberty. And then you figure out, well, where do we actually need government? And that's why I still consider myself a classical liberal and not a libertarian, because I do believe there is some utility for the state. It's just real politics, right?
Oh man, I want to jump in.
Yeah, so
I love this, by the way.
But this is what we would do normally. So what I would prefer is if education would get everybody to the point of understand the Constitution, understand the documents you just laid out so that we are free first.
Right.
Then let's have the argument about when we need government. But we do it the other way. We do it that the government is inherently good. They gave you all the rights. They're supposed to give you this stuff and free this, free that. Mm-hmm. And then occasionally somebody on the right can come in and maybe move that down a little bit. But it seems to me that we're doing this thing upside down.
Decades of building a political system that's based on a career, not service, building a support system in a bureaucracy, and call it large interest, whatever that interest may be that supports the bureaucracy. We have a system that more resembles a dinosaur in too many ways, which is a small brain, a huge animal, an inefficient system, and one that doesn't recognize it's received a death blow on one end of the body because the brain is not equipped for it. And that's what I see in where we are now. The self-correct on this, I think, is more evident in parts of the country that don't get the attention. Lyman, Wyoming, Cheyenne, somewhere out in Paxton, Nebraska, in other areas where people don't wake up every day and see things the way you and I do. Don't check the Twitter of the president. Don't check Sanders' war. You know, they don't live in this. Those are the people we have to engage. I still believe, and I see it anecdotally, and I think it's supported by a lot of the studies, that there are more people in this country that, if they're engaged, are that silent majority. Now, whether they're right or left, I think they fall more in the American cultural value system. Mm-hmm. They don't fear freedom, but maybe they don't understand fully the risk and reward that comes with freedom. There's risk.
Yeah.
There's risk when what you're describing happens, when we go upside down. When it comes to freedom, we've got to realize that its inherent risk and reward is why it works. And I think there are more of those people out there that are coming to that center. The problem is they haven't been engaged properly by either party, and they need to be brought into it.
What do we do then to make a more, let's say, inclusive right? This is one of the interesting things that I find right now. Most of my audience is, it's a little hard to say, but I would say it's something like half of my audience is probably former lefties, and a huge percentage of those people, they're still like, those people on the right. Like, I may think the left's nuts, but those people on the right are really nuts.
If everybody's nuts, who's sane?
Right. Yeah.
Really, think about it. If everybody's nuts, who's sane?
But that's what I'm trying to show them, that it's not the case. Because what I have consistently seen is that the right, while not being perfect, and nothing is, something like gay marriage, for example, the right now has basically, well, nobody talks about gay marriage anymore. Nobody's fighting for gay marriage to be reversed. There is literally nobody doing it. The voices in the Republican Party that were rabidly against it, say a Mike Huckabee and a Rick Santorum, really have no power in the Republican Party anymore. So I've seen an ability to be flexible intellectually on the right. What is it that you guys can do to further that, if you think that that's a good thing to do?
Well, no, I think it is a good thing to do, to evolve. I trust the Constitution, the people, to make, as a whole, the better choice. Not pure democracy, not mob rule, but to make a better choice based on some things that they do control and some things they don't control. Back in the 80s, if you had a black friend, you were cool. By the mid to late 80s, if you had a gay friend, you were really cool. If you had both, you were like, man, I'm hanging in the club and I'm good.
If we had a time machine, we could make a lot of cool people.
Exactly. But there's a truth there, because what happened? Generations started to evolve. Those people who were cool suddenly saw people differently. You know, like how teammates see each other. I know you may come from that side and that side, but we're playing on the same team, which is the American team. So as the generation evolves, the parties didn't always evolve. The Republican Party failed to engage blacks and urban neighborhoods because they had a strategy from '85 with the evangelicals. I get it. Reality of political party, right? Red state, blue state, Republican, Democrat county, carve them up. You get your wins, I get mine, we play redistricting. So the parties failed, but the culture's evolving and the party has to come along eventually. The problem is the party takes longer to come along. I don't have to agree with someone, and that's not required. Neither is my offense or someone else's offense necessary, because it's about freedom. And I think the people will drag it along, which is why I still hold more faith in the millennials than people on the right or left do. Are there ones that are troublesome? Yes. But are there more of them in this country when you do as I do? And I've been to every state and I've talked to people, and I see more people who are saying, just let me live. Let me do what I can do to get my life where it is and stop trying to sell me on what I need to believe.
If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversations about politics instead of nonstop yelling, check out our politics playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.